This is WPSL Port St. Lucie, the talk of the Treasure Coast.
Good morning.
Views expressed on the following program are not necessarily those of WPSL. However, we have always encouraged you to like and share them on social media and with all your friends and neighbors because it's time for Joanne's World of Nutrition, hosted this morning by Joanne Seeger.
Good morning, everyone. I hope everyone's having a fantastic morning. All right, and so we need to definitely do a few extra rounds of breath work for me this morning. I feel like I got up super early. You know what? I don't know if it's a time change or we have a little cold front here in Florida, but I absolutely love it. It's like when the weather's cool, I want to get up super early just to enjoy every minute of it. So I want to just get nice and calm and focused. So are you ready, sir? So
I'm always ready.
Let's do that 4-second in through the nose and out through the nose for 8 seconds, and that will maybe 3 rounds. That should do it
With
for
no
me.
pauses in between.
No pauses in between.
Straight in for 4, straight out for 8.
There you go. So if we have any newbies listening, welcome to the show. Please try to join us. It really feels great. It helps your body be nice and calm and relaxed and just really bring that blood pressure down and that tension away. All right, here we go. Let's exhale out anything that's stressing us.
Here we go. In, let it in through the nose. 1, 2, 3, 4. Out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. In. 2, 3, 4. Out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. In. 2, 3, 4. Out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Thank you very much. I feel so much better, so much better. All right, we have a quick announcement. Not only are we open again, the termite tenting went well. I guess they all went away or went to termite heaven. I don't know, wherever they go.
Yes.
But yeah, so the store's all nice and clean and safe and healthy. So if you want to come visit us, we are open and normal hours. We are trying to fundraise right now, and I don't know if my listeners have ever attempted fundraising, but sometimes with the best intentions, you really just go, wow, this is harder than I thought. You know, just even approaching friends and neighbors and coworkers, trying to get raffle prizes, trying to get the food donated, the place, the time. It's a lot of work. So my son has a dear friend that's been a mentor to him. He's a retired fire in the fire department, and he's worked all branches of our military services. Just an incredible guy, and him and his friends are heading up this fundraiser, so I definitely want to support it. So this is a barbecue fundraiser to benefit Al Hazen. So he is an Army veteran and also a retired deputy chief from New Jersey from the fire department, and he needs some money to help him with his cancer battle. And so they're doing a barbecue, and Wanda next door at Potbelly has told me that it's going to be some really delicious pulled pork sandwiches and barbecue dinners with coleslaw, baked beans. So you definitely want to go. It's basically $10 to get in. You get that meal. It's going to a great cause. They're going to have, I gave a couple gift certificates. They're going to have raffles and giveaways. So this is April 1st. Okay, so I think just a couple weeks, April 1st. It's at the American Legion, Post 40 in Fort Pierce. So that's on US 1. So a nice local fundraiser. So definitely if you can head out or just contribute, you can call me at the store. And then Wanda's also selling tickets at Potbelly. So I would love, I haven't worked on helping fundraisers for a while, and I feel like, there's so many great causes out there that we can give our time and our effort to, and a small amount of money can really add up when a lot of people participate. So there we go. And if you want to call Mike, he's my son's friend, his mentor. Mike's phone number, I can give it off at the store. I don't know if he wants me to announce it on the radio, but if you call me at the store, I'll give you Mike's number for more information, okay? So thank you for listening to that. All right, so today's topic. A customer called me last night, and she was not feeling so good. She was thinking that she had some food poisoning, and she was really suffering. So it kind of gave me an idea about doing the topic of the stomach today. There are many situations that happen in our body, and when we're in a stressful situation and we don't feel well, all of a sudden our senses, our logic just goes out the window. We're just like, we're in pain, we're uncomfortable, we're either throwing up or we're in the restroom and things are coming out both ends, and we just don't know what's going on, and we get nervous. Sometimes when you get fearful or scared, it makes the symptoms so much worse. So I'm hoping that you put like a preventative list down when you're feeling well, so when symptoms come up, you logically look at them and you know how to handle them, because the last thing you want to be caught with at 3 o'clock in the morning is something happening with your stomach and not knowing what to do about it, because that pain can be really bad. So this is just some ideas, and I always wish that no one ever experiences food poisoning, because food poisoning probably, from my experience with pain, was the worst. So you want to have things in your pantry and in your medicine cabinet ready for anything that the stomach, when it starts talking back to us. All right, so our stomach, it is sitting on the left-hand side of the body. It's really important to know your anatomy, because sometimes when you get pain in the abdominal area, you're not really sure where it's radiating from if you're not knowledgeable about where your organs are. So it's really important that you kind of take a couple minutes, and even the bookstores, I hate to say it, but you can always find anatomy books on the clearance section. So some of them look like they're meant for, elementary school children, but who cares? They're on clearance for $4, and it has these awesome charts on where all the organs sit in the body. Or you could just Google it. But it's really cool to learn where the organs exactly are. For instance, a lot of the customers will point like the center lower area and go, oh, my stomach is bothering me so much. I don't know what I did. And that's not their stomach, okay? So the stomach is the upper left-hand part of the organ system. So you want to say right below the chest bone area, that's probably where you would feel your stomach. So the upper left quadrant of the body.
Remember the old encyclopedias? Under the A edition, the Human Anatomy in the middle, with all the clear pages where you could see.
Oh my, you are bringing back such memories right now. I had forgotten about that, Cliff. That's like, I'm like, woo, feeling a little nostalgic now.
Sometimes when I get a call on the swap shop with some old Encyclopedia Britannicas, I think, oh, wow, that's the only place we can find that.
You're right. I remember that, and that's absolutely incredible. Yes, and I love those books.
Oh, yeah.
I do have a few. I don't have any of the encyclopedias left, but I do have my old school anatomy books, and they're great. You kind of go, wow, yeah, I forgot. That's where the duodenum is. That's why that's bothering me. That's where the flap is. And if you learn your anatomy, you'll have a better clue to why you have pain in certain regions of the body. So the stomach, again, is the most, well, I'm not going to say the most important part of the digestive system, but a really critical part of the digestive system. It is intended to be acidic. There is a lot of people that put such a bad thought behind acid and the stomach, like, oh, I'm too acidic, acid reflux, heartburn. Like, they basically think the acid is the cause. Unfortunately, it's quite the opposite. If we have too much stress and a processed diet, then we are creating a low acid condition where the stomach doesn't have enough acid to do its proper job. So the stomach's pH should be between 1.5 to 3.5. That is really acidic, okay? And when it's not as acidic as it should be, that beautiful flap that's supposed to open and close when necessary won't close properly. So it's not too much acid that makes that flap stay open. It's the opposite, okay? So you want to really keep your pH of your stomach perfectly acidic and not stop that acid, okay? So what we're going to cover is like some of the symptoms that the stomach gives us and some of the feelings that those symptoms give us as well. All right, so let's talk about stomach growling, right? So there's sometimes like, I'll be sitting and all of a sudden I hear this growl, and it's a little awkward, better than having gas, I guess, right? That's really awkward. But stomach growling is basically just one of the real common motor functions of the body. It's called migrating motor complex. I never knew that until today. So I thought, wow, okay, that's an interesting thing. So the migrating motor complex, as silly as that sounds, it's really important because that is the transition from the food product that's going from your small intestine to your large intestine. And there are many people that will point to like their abdominal area, and they'll kind of point right to left across, yes, something's always bothering me across my belly line. I feel like I have to press into a table or a countertop to give it some relief. And that is the area where that whole migration occurs. And so when you have crossover pain, it could be a simple mechanical issue where your food is not transitioning properly from your small intestine to your large intestine. And sometimes our bodies are miraculous. They will make up for a lot of really bad choices, but sometimes physically they just need a little help. So something like doing a soft abdominal massage, a little pressure point work, it's incredible to help move the food from, just like your teeth start the digestive system, and the more you chew, the better your digestion. It's the same thing. Sometimes the intestines need a little help with its movement because of nerve pathways being damaged. The little villi that are in there, they're damaged. It needs just a little help. So if you have that stomach growling, you might just try to really gently massage from right to left. And just really, really nice, gentle massages. And then you might get that release, and all of a sudden you feel better. So always try the simple fixes before you medicate, okay? It's much better for the body, the less medication as possible, because you might end up breaking another system that was totally fine and nothing wrong with it, okay? So stomach growling, that's a motor function, and you just definitely want to help it along, okay? And I always promote the squatty potties. The squatty potties, if you use them in the restroom, they do elevate your feet properly, and you bring your chest forward so you get a full evacuation, because the worst thing that you want to do is have any backup bowel movements. When the bowels want to empty, you want to make sure that you give them ample time and positioning to fully empty so nothing backs up, and then that whole motor system that's trying to move the next load from the small to the large, it has lots of space, lots of space. Marianne, our massage therapist at the Wellness Center, one time I was getting a little pain in the turns of the large intestine. It's very common because there's turns in your large intestine that are on each side of the body. And sometimes if anything gets trapped in there, it's very uncomfortable. And so I had always, just like I mentioned, rubbed right to left, trying to move it across. But she told me the most common sense thing, and had a light bulb moment with it. If you push against something that's blocked, you won't go anywhere, right? So the best bet is actually start at the end of the intestinal tract, and then you work your way up, which I had never even thought of, but it's absolutely true. So, if you work on like pushing a big rubble, wall, you won't get anywhere, right? A lot of effort. But if you go on the other side and you move the little stones out one at a time, then you might get somewhere. So that's what I started doing, and I haven't had any pain in those twists ever again. I always just make sure full evacuation and do a little self-massage on where the fecal matter is turning just to get out and transition. So really important. You want to help move things along. Don't just assume that everything's going to be done for us, especially if you live a sedentary lifestyle. It really is important to exercise, to get the body moving for a million different reasons, but to move the stomach waste, the small intestine, the large intestine, and have everything leave the colon. It's really important for the body to be active and moving. Even if mobility is an issue and you're wheelchair bound, you can still move your upper body because any movement's really good. And that's where dry skin brushing and self-massage also helps a lot. All right, so that's that long explanation of stomach growling. All right, here we go. The next one, definitely painful, and that's stomach ulcers. Now, stomach ulcers are one of those things that are really easy to prevent. But once you get a stomach ulcer, which is technically a hole in your stomach, it takes so much time and patience and hard work to repair it. So it really is much easier to prevent an ulcer because, again, they take years to develop and really bad choices. So I'm going to give you some really good tips on preventing the ulcer first, and that is keeping stress under control. So stress creates a great amount of inflammation, and stress also makes us sometimes make really bad lifestyle choices, like we might overconsume alcohol, too much sedentary lifestyle. There is bad food choices that usually go along with stress, like look at any movie, and as soon as someone's stressed out, they're usually drinking alcohol and eating junk food, or of course the go-to is the big tub of ice cream when they're not feeling happy. So these are all things that will lead to an ulcer, and rather quickly. And then the other obvious is the side effects of NSAIDs, especially aspirin. Now, I think it's common knowledge now that aspirins cause ulcer. I know for at least 30 years I have heard even the medical establishment warn against aspirin and ulcers. So there is no amount of aspirin that won't cause an ulcer. So if you're doing a baby aspirin and you are under advisement of your heart doctor, and you're feeling any symptoms, any early symptoms of ulcers, so you feel any pain, bloating, discomfort, any digestive issues at all, or pain that you think is acid reflux or even possibly the heart, you want to approach this subject with your heart doctor, because there are alternatives of things that you can use to help protect your heart without hurting your stomach, especially if you already do have an ulcer. You've got to get off that aspirin immediately. All right, so the other cause of stomach ulcers is H. pylori. So H. pylori, this type of bacteria is really a nightmare to humans. It can cause such a host of side effects. So the ulcer is the symptom of the H. pylori, but you can have brain fog, indigestion, heartburn, bloating, gas, constipation, diarrhea, headaches. I mean, such a terrible array of side effects from H. pylori. And how does H. pylori come about? Usually when your stomach acid is too low. So if you're taking things that are intentionally stopping the stomach acid, you could end up with the H. pylori. It is also transmissible through the mucosal tissue, so if you do share it with a family member, it is possible through kissing, you can get it, or sharing utensils or glasses of beverages. So H. pylori is something that once it kind of gets control of your stomach lining and start causing destruction like ulcers and gastritis, it's really hard to treat because it's smart and it loves to hide. So the best bet is always to prevent it. But there is hope to get rid of it, okay? And that's keeping your good bacteria in check. So your microbiome, which we've discussed many times on the show, is very sensitive to our choices. So if we do a lot of medications, a lot of chlorinated water, a lot of processed foods, a lot of sugary foods, we're destroying this beautiful homeostasis with your good and your bad bacteria. The bad bacteria can be there without causing major destruction, but if the bad bacteria starts taking over, or you're becoming antibiotic resistant because you've done so many series of antibiotics, now your body is not reacting well anymore, and it's actually destroying your defense system. The H. pylori then has much more of a fighting chance. So you want to incorporate things like homemade kefir. Kefir is a dairy product that actually is good for the stomach system, where typically most dairy products are not good for the stomach. But if you do a fermented natural dairy product like kefir, that is so beneficial. My customer, she brought me homemade kefir yesterday, and I was just, it's been such a challenging week having this oral surgery, and I never really thought that it was going to take this long to feel like I could speak normally or, just learn to chew again. I really never imagined. So she brought me some wonderful kefir to drink just to get myself back on track, and it really did work. Just having that one serving of kefir, I felt so much better. I felt so much stronger. So I would highly recommend, and when I say kefir, I don't mean what the supermarket sells that's full of sugar and other ingredients. So real kefir. When I come back from the break, we're going to go on because unfortunately there are many other things that affects the stomach, both negatively and hopefully positively. Oh my gosh. And see, I can't even still talk, right? All right, guys, we're going to take a quick break so I can learn how to talk again, and we'll be right back. Hi, this is Joanne from Nutrition World and Wellness Center. I am really excited to introduce new guests and topics to my show every Wednesday morning at 10 a.m. here on WPSL, where my listeners can call in on any topic. If I don't know the answer, I'll try to find it. We want to help you become the best version of yourself. We'll have naturopaths, coaches. I am looking forward to sharing my years of experience with my listeners so we can enjoy this life journey together.
Visit Joanne's Nutrition World in the Kras Square, formerly known as the Arcade Building, located at US 1 and Orange Avenue, across from Fort Pierce City Hall. Open Monday through Friday from 10 to 4, Saturdays 10 to 3. Taking appointments for the Wellness Center online at joannesnutritionworld.com or call 772-464-3598.
This is WPSL Port St. Lucie, the talk of the Treasure Coast.
We now return to Joanne's World of Nutrition. Once again, here's your host, Joanne Seeger.
Hey everyone, thanks for spending some time with me this morning. We are discussing the stomach. Sometimes we take it for granted. We don't even think about it until all of a sudden we're not feeling so good and the pain is debilitating, and then all of a sudden it's all about the stomach. So sometimes when you're going to the doctor's office for a stomach ulcer, the first thing they're going to tell you is we have to stop the acid production to heal the lining of the stomach. And I understand that because obviously now you got to the point where you have a hole in the stomach. But I just want everyone really to understand that the cause, was never too much acid in the stomach. All right. So as long as you understand that, but their treatment does shut down the acid production to try to heal it. And sometimes it's not really working the way that they hope. They can manage the pain. But it's still really tricky because the stomach always fights to be acid so it can break down all your food groups. Because if we don't break down our protein, which has to be in an acid matrix, we don't get our amino acids, which are our neurotransmitters. So sometimes people are like, I don't understand why I feel like I'm in such a bad mood. I mean, I'm just doing things for heartburn. Because if you don't break down protein, you don't get down to the simplest amino acids, which are your neurotransmitters, your dopamine, your serotonin, your GABA, like we've discussed, the intestinal tract produces all these things to make us feel good and feel like we want to participate in life. So if your stomach and your intestinal system is compromised and you're not absorbing the right nutrients, or gosh forbid have things coming through the walls that are supposed to protect us from everything that's poisonous that's supposed to come out and it's coming back in, we're not going to feel so good, not mentally or physically. So I just want to make it clear once again that the stomach is supposed to be extremely acidic, so to operate correctly, okay? So some of the tricks to do that is to have no meals with liquid, okay? Or I should just say no liquids with meals. So I learned that back in Boston. I always have lots of stories about how I was supposed to chew my food, I think it was like 80 times, and it would just make me laugh so much because to me, it's really difficult. I want everyone just to try to do it with one bite of food. Try chewing 80 times. It's really, really hard to do, okay? It is so important, though, because all your starch digesting enzymes happen in your mouth. So that's why our teeth is meant to break down our food to the simplest size. Okay, so there's more surface area for the enzymes to attack it. So it's critical that we chew and chew and chew our food, and we don't drink liquids, especially caffeine or alcohol or sugary beverages while we're eating, because that's going to dilute these enzymes that are working so hard to break down all our crazy food choices. And we all know that we're not living on this 100% raw, healthy, food lifestyle. We are eating cooked, processed, refined food that takes a lot of work for the human body to break down and get rid of what it needs to get rid of and utilize what it can, if there's anything even there. So it's really important not to mix any beverages or liquids while you're chewing and digesting your food. There is obviously points when you're eating dry food, which my husband pointed out on the car ride here, that if you really look in nature at the healthiest food, it always has moisture built in. Like if you look at vegetables, if you look at fruit, if you look at even raw meat, there's moisture in all of those things. But if you look at processed foods, those are the things that you have to choke down because they're so drying and you feel like you need, something to wash them down. So really in nature, moisture is always built in to make it easier for us to chew and use our saliva for digestion. So the first trick is chew really well and don't mix liquids while you're chewing your food. The next one is to have smaller meals. Now, this isn't an excuse to eat all day long. You still want to do some type of intermittent fasting where your entire digestive system gets a break, even from one bite of food or one mint or an almond or something, where your duodenum, that little sensor in the intestinal tract, is saying, oh, nothing's happening. Let's, rejuvenate. Let's recuperate. Let's start fixing things. You still need that time. But when it is time to eat, you want to have a smaller than usual meal so you don't overwhelm your digestive system, especially your stomach. Okay? So just smaller meals, but again, not eating all day long. So I mentioned avoiding the processed foods. I hope that's very obvious to all my listeners. The more processed a food is, the more work it is to digest it and get rid of it. So just keep the food as basic as possible. Like vegetable broths are a great idea with stomach ulcers or really any stomach condition. Bone broth, same thing. It doesn't matter what's going wrong with your stomach, whether it be an ulcer or gastritis. You definitely want to do some type of broth. Bone broth, if it's clean and natural, really a good idea. The one that gets so much accolade for help healing the stomach lining, whether it be an ulcer or gastritis, is cabbage juice. Cabbage juice is absolutely incredible. I remember, oh my gosh, it was at least 35 years ago, and this whole group of us, we decided to do a cabbage fast. And I honestly thought, well, that's going to be really boring. I mean, it's just cabbage, right? But cabbage has a lot of flavor to it, and it's so soothing and healing. You never really feel like you're fasting because there's so many healing sulfur components in cabbage that it basically calms the entire digestive system down and it helps heal it. So if you're ever unsure when you're feeling so much distress in your digestive system, cabbage juice or just lightly steamed cabbage is the best bet. Sometimes it's easier to cook or steam vegetables when your digestive system is not working properly, but you don't want to boil the cabbage, because if you boil the cabbage too long, you're going to lose its benefits. Steaming the cabbage and then putting it just back in some broth, just to make it a little more seasoned or palatable, that's a really good idea. But there was one study that I thought was incredible, where they basically compared cabbage juice with omeprazole, and the cabbage juice outperformed it. It was only by 3%, but it still outperformed the omeprazole, and it was a deduction of symptoms by 83%. I mean, that to me is incredible. So when you have ulcer pain, which again sometimes puts you to your knees, 83% reduction of your symptoms, that's incredible over a simple $3 head of cabbage. So it's inexpensive, and the best part of this is it doesn't have side effects. If you look up the side effects of most of the things they use for gastritis and stomach ulcers, the side effects are sometimes worse than what you're dealing with. So you want to consider some cabbage, and it doesn't matter what color the cabbage is. You can use any color, but again, this is not about raw cabbage, not just chewing on coleslaw. This is definitely juicing it or steaming it or lightly boiling it. All right. The next one that's wonderful for ulcers and gastritis, and just because I'm going to have to lump these two things together because they're just so similar, is gastritis is inflammation of the stomach lining. So before you get a whole ulcer, sometimes you will get inflammation, and like all inflammation, if it's acute, it comes and goes. That's the way the body's supposed to run. But if it's chronic, it's daily, that's what can cause all illnesses. Just like I always say, whether it be the common cold or cancer, inflammation, if it goes unchecked, can be very destructive. And so this is definitely the case for gastritis, where the area is inflamed. So all the same things that you would do for an ulcer, you would also treat the same way for the gastritis. So my favorite thing that you will always find in my refrigerator is aloe vera. When you use aloe vera for any digestive disorders, especially of the stomach, you want to look for preservative-free aloe. There's a lot of people that try to jump on the aloe healing bandwagon because aloe is absolutely miraculous. It has mucopolysaccharides. These polysaccharides are so healing. It produces collagen naturally in the body that heals all tissue. Just like it would help heal a sunburn on the outside, it's that same sunburn is what's happening inside your stomach. It also heals as well. But you do need to buy preservative free. Once you add a preservative into a liquid, you are not keeping the integrity of the liquid. So you definitely want to get some preservative free aloe. At the store, I sell George's, and I sell aloe. Lily of the Desert aloe vera. They're in glass bottles, and they're like less than $9 for 32 ounces. Absolutely incredible investment for what you get for healing and soothing the tissue without having to shut down your acid producing system that is vital to your digestive and to begin with. The next one is called DGL. DGL you can find anywhere now. I'm pretty sure even in the regular drugstores. DGL stands for deglycerized licorice. The deglycerized licorice helps heal the mucosal tissue. And you can suck on them. So the one that I carry by Nature's Way is like a sucker. They make it licorice flavor naturally, and then, of course, chocolate. I absolutely love the chocolate ones. I've been actually using it to help heal this like dry, irritated throat feeling I have from the oral surgery. And it really works well. It coats, it soothes, it's pleasant tasting, very inexpensive and very safe. And deglycerized, the reason that they're deglycerizing it, because if you do too much licorice, which it would really take a lot, okay? That is where you get into where they say about the blood pressure. But not in all these years that I've been selling licorice products in general have I had an issue with people with blood pressure. So just to keep that note. The next thing that you want to think about is slippery elm. Okay, slippery elm is really good at soothing the stomach lining and coating it. It's very common. There's slippery elm products are sold everywhere for sore throats, but the same way that it heals that whole raw sore throat feeling, same mechanism helps heal that stomach lining. So slippery elm is another one. There's another one that is really popular too. It's called mastic gum. So mastic gum, I don't sell it because it's not very common. But if you happen to have mastic gum and you're kind of going, why isn't she talking about it? It is incredible. It's just not as common, but mastic gum works really well for ulcers as well. All right. So I want to go back for a second to H. pylori. So H. pylori, one of the things that helps fight H. pylori is berberine. So if anyone's been in my store, I promote berberine all day long. Doesn't matter who you are, berberine. I talk about it because it's inexpensive. It has no side effects. It's absolutely incredible to get your glucose down, anything to do with metabolic syndrome, blood pressure, cholesterol, belly fat. It's incredible. But berberine also has a study against H. pylori. No shock to me because this stuff is absolutely incredible. So if you're kind of feeling like you're broken in a few different areas and you really don't want to make too big of an investment in supplements, berberine would be your go-to. Berberine, you really get a lot for your money. It really helps everything. And again, with no negatives. There's no side effects. I always tell people sometimes medicine has a place, but it comes with a price. There's always a price, and there's always a system that it's going to interfere with, where at least with berberine, you're helping the whole body regulate itself back to normal again without having such a severe price. So I love that. So definitely give the berberine a try. The one thing also I want to mention is digestive enzymes. Some of us, like I made a joke earlier, we're not sitting around eating raw vegetables all day and raw eggs and raw meat. We're pretty much following this whole cooked processed lifestyle. And in doing so, we are eliminating not all but most of the enzymes that are usually present in food naturally to help us assist with digestion. So you can safely take digestive enzymes. They're sold in most health food stores. There's one that my house brand makes called Superzymes. I've been using it for many years. I don't abuse them because sometimes I have to admit, if I have say I go to a restaurant and I know they use the bad quality oils, or I'm going to indulge in their rolls because they're just too hard to resist, or whatever the reason may be, if I take a digestive enzyme, I notice I get no upset, no stomach or gastric upset by using that enzyme. Not an excuse to make bad choices, but that's how incredible they work, where you don't get the bloating, the gas, the indigestion. And enzymes are very affordable as well. You can just keep, my husband has this little pillow pack thing that attaches to his keychain. He always keeps at least 4 digestive enzymes in there. And in doing so, he doesn't get the acid reflux, the heartburn, all the problems if he was to go eat a piece of pizza. So he can still, once in a while, enjoy those processed foods without having such pain and discomfort after. So digestive enzymes, you don't get dependent on them. They don't stop making your own digestive system work, but it is, again, this lifestyle that we're all leading with not eating all raw foods, it does definitely help and gives our body a little bit of assistance in a very difficult area. So digestive enzymes, a great idea to help us out. The next one is collagen. Collagen, again, is famous for wrinkles and help people, making their skin look younger again. But just like it helps the outside of the skin, it also helps all the internal lining and mucosal systems inside our organ system and around it. Because we want to keep that strong and young and really flexible. And so collagen is great for ulcers and gastritis as well, and for any esophageal issues as well. Obviously, you can see the tie-in between anything happening between the mouth and the anus cavity. All this stuff benefits it. All right, so the next thing I'm going to mention is the stomach flu versus food poisoning, okay? The one thing that you can keep, this is pretty much correct for 99% of the time. So if you have food poisoning comes on super fast, okay? So it comes on super fast, and usually your entire body is involved immediately. So you are rushing to the bathroom and you really don't know, are you going to throw up or you're going to have diarrhea, or maybe both at the same time. And unfortunately, it does happen that way. Sometimes you are throwing up in the garbage pail as you're sitting there having diarrhea. It is the worst feeling. And you are losing so many fluids because the body looks like it has been insulted everywhere, and so it just wants to get rid of everything as quickly as it can. So it will happen quickly. And the other thing too is that you will still feel this general overall weakness in the body. Obviously, you're losing all these fluids and the body is poisoned, so you could feel a temperature, you could feel muscular weakness, overall, like you just pretty much want to grab a pillow and stay in the bathroom. But what's critical is to tell if there's someone else in your home, or if you can just muster up the strength to even get something delivered to you, you need liquids. The most important thing is to focus on the hydration. If you do not hydrate, that would be the only thing that would create a situation where you would have to go to the hospital. So you want to do whatever you can, even suck on ice chips. I tell all my customers, keep a really healthy electrolyte drink in your house at all times. It should be drank daily because we need the electrolytes every day for good health, but especially when we're not well and we're facing food poisoning, you want to stay hydrated. Food does not matter. We can go a long time without food, but we cannot go without liquids, especially if you're having, you're throwing up and having diarrhea. You're losing liquids very quickly. So one of the little tricks that you can do, if you take the electrolyte powder, and again, try to get a natural one, not full of sugar and artificial sweeteners, I actually love Dr. Berg's that I sell because it's really high in potassium. It would be super important at this time when you're feeling so vulnerable. But if you freeze some of the electrolyte powder in an ice cube tray and then you just suck on the ice cube, because sometimes it's even hard to feel like you can keep liquids down. So if you just suck on the ice cube in between getting sick, that will help keep your body having moisture and keeping the electrolytes up, because you definitely don't want to put yourself in a position where you have to go get an IV done. All right, so that's the stomach flu. So again, super fast, super violent, and just like the name, food poisoning. The name implies you're trying to get something out. But the stomach flu, definitely different. So the stomach flu, you still can possibly get the fever, and you can get the body aches, and you feel this overall weakness. But the stomach, it's almost like your whole abdominal cavity. So everything like below your chest, you're just feeling like, wow, it feels sour, it feels bitter, I have a metallic taste in my mouth. Like you just don't know what's happening. It's like, oh my gosh, I can't eat anything, but I feel like I just ate this huge meal. Like your stomach feels like swollen and bloated, and of this very uncomfortable feeling, like you need to get something out, but you're not going to the bathroom, you're not throwing up. It's just like, it's terrible because you want to throw up, but sometimes nothing's coming up and it's just bile. So the stomach flu is this generalized achy, just I call it yucky feeling in the belly. But the good news is with the stomach flu is that it usually passes pretty quickly, just like food poisoning. Okay, so once you get like that viral strain out of you, you do recover really quickly, and then you're back to normal, hopefully within the week. But the symptoms usually do not last that long. Like I know when I was growing up, everyone talked about the 24-hour stomach bug. And it was absolutely incredible to my mind how from the moment it started, it was almost exactly to the minute of 24 hours that it would go away. I thought that was just the most incredible thing. So whether it be the stomach flu or food poisoning, you want to work on the same thing. Hydration, hydration, hydration in any way you can. You don't want to put any solid food in your stomach normally for either thing. But again, go with the same rules with the stomach ulcer and the gastritis. Some nice steamed cabbage juice. You could do that. You can do bone broth, very light, liquidy things to make you feel better. But again, prevention. Keep that stomach acid high. Chew that food. Don't drink with your meals, and really try to stay away from that processed food so you don't have to end up with any of this junk. Everyone, I hope I spoke well enough where you can understand me. And next week, we have Bert back on, so with Positive Power. All right, everyone, I hope you have an incredible week and try to participate in that fundraiser. Have a great one, everyone.
Archives of Joanne's World of Nutrition are on YouTube. Go to WPSLTV.com and look for Joanne's World of Nutrition and binge watch yourself. There's a lot of shows there. Many years of this program on YouTube.